Okay, good evening, guys. So today we are going to talk about a topic under the subject law enforcement administration. So basically, ang pag-uusapan po natin ngayon is the topic on globalization and law enforcement. Okay. So there has been lot, or there are actually a lot of issues that's going on right now in terms of uh, globalization and its relation to law enforcement, no? Yung iba doon, yun yung mga gusto nating talakayan for this session, for this video. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is we need to define what is actually globalization. No? So basically, I have the definition of globalization right there. Nandiyan po. Globalization is a package of transnational flows of people, production, investment, information, ideas, and authority. No? To simplify what globalization is, no, actually refers to the movement of people. Now, it could be a movement of people from one place to another. That is globalization. Transfer of information from one source to another. That is also globalization. So, actually, when we refer to globalization, especially when we are trying to relate it to law enforcement, is that we're looking at globalization as the process, no, kung paano uh, na transfer yung mga bagay-bagay na from one place to another. No? Well, during the early days, it's not possible. I mean, it is possible, but it will take a long time, no, before a certain information will be transferred through another. Now, let's say, for example, an information here in our country, which if it will be sent, for example, in Spain, which yun yung nangyari during the early days, it will take a long time before such information will be received by other country. So globalization actually existed already during the early days, but as we are improving, no, as we are progressing, so the process of globalization are becoming faster and faster. No? Bumibilis yung proseso. Like for example, how fast it is now to travel from our country to Spain, our country to Japan, our country to China. No? If we're going to compare that during the early days, mabagal. No? Not only transportation, but also products. For example, products. How long will it take? It takes before our product here in Philippines will reach abroad in other countries. No? Technologies. How long will the technologies developed by other countries reach into our country? 'Di ba? Kung makikita niyo yung mga uso ngayon, for example, like iPhone, no, and new brands of computer and other brands. So whether that is that is a vehicle or any other type of product, cosmetic or so, no, reach in our country very fast. No? Bilis. Nauso lang siya nung nakaraang buwan sa ibang bansa. Sa susunod na buwan, nandun na rin kumbaga yung fever kumbaga sa atin. No? So, these are all part of the so-called globalization. No? The transfers, the transfers of either technologies, people, information, and idea, no, from country to another country. No, yun po yung tinatawag natin globalization. Globalization existed during the early days. However, no, yung process matagal, mabagal. Mabagal makarating yung mga information or so from other country to our country, no, during the early days. But as we are progressing, as we have stated, bumibilis rin kumbaga yung pag-transfer, no, ng mga bagay-bagay galing sa ibang bansa papunta sa ating bansa. So, question is that a problem? Is that a problem? Of course, no? If meron siyang uh, impact, no, into our daily life, then it will have an impact also to law enforcement. No? So globalization is both like we can say it's a good and bad, no, to a certain country. Globalization is either it can be a good or bad into a certain country. No, so if we're going to look, no, or focus on the concept of law enforcement, well, globalization could be good because marami tayong mga information na mabilis nang maipasa at nakakatulong yun, no, sa pagiging effective or efficient ng ating ng ating law enforcement uh, organizations on how will they be able to combat the existence of crime, no? But it can also be a problem since not only the law enforcement are taking advantage, no, not only the law enforcement are taking advantage of the fast transfer of information, ideas, and technologies, but also criminal organizations. So that's the problem. No, yun yung tinitignan nating problema. Kaya doon papasok yung tinatawag nating impact of globalization to law enforcement. But for this matter, we are going to talk about more likely on the negative impact of globalization to law enforcement. But I'm not saying, no, since I will be focusing on the negative impact of globalization to law enforcement, I'm not saying that all that globalization bring to law enforcement are all negative. That is actually the contrary. Marami ring naidulot, kumbaga, yung globalization na mabuti sa law enforcement. But uh, gusto ko lang i-highlight, kumbaga, in this discussion, the impact or negative impact of globalization to law enforcement so that we can be able to critique, no? Ano pa yung mga pwede nating gawin in order to improve our law enforcement organization to combat the negative impact brought by globalization. So what are those negative impact? Well, number one, crime are expanding. Uh, Crime are expanding since bumibilis na yung transfer of information, since dumadali na yung transportation or the transfer of products to one country to other country alone. No, it means that it is easier now to commit crime, especially those that has something to do with illegal products, like for example, mga smuggled goods, smuggled items prohibited, like drugs, firearms, and so on. So bumibilis, no, yung pag transfer ng mga items from one country to another country. That means that um, crime itself could expand also from being a domestic problem in one country to becoming a global problem. That's one. No? And another thing is that nagkakaroon na tayo ng new definition or new classification of crime. Like for example, cybercrime. No? Cybercrime, we don't have cybercrime problem during the early days. But because of globalization and because of the technologies that we have right now, no, nagkaroon rin tayo ng panibagong problem, which is cybercrime, which pag sinabi natin cybercrime, actually it could be any type of crime where an internet or computer was used to commit the crime. That is cybercrime. It's a new problem. It's part of the crime expansion brought by globalization. Another thing is that methodologies are getting complex. When we talk about methodologies, we're referring actually on how they are committing the crime. No? So nagiging complex na siya kasi technologies are improving. No? No, I mean, yeah, technologies are improving. That means that they are more capable now in committing multiple type of crime, no, in the shortest possible time, no. So yung mga methods nila na ginagawa on how they're going to do the crime, like I would give an example. Let's say for example, selling drugs, no. So when we talk about selling drugs, usually done parang face to face, di ba? I'm the pusher, you're the buyer. We meet at a certain place, then we exchange goods. Now, I'll give you drugs, you'll give me money. So that is usually how selling of drugs is being committed. Ganun talaga, no, yung method on how you sell drug to your patrons, no? But because of the technologies or technologies that we have right now, di ba? Nagkakaroon na sila ng iba't ibang pamamaraan kung paano nila ibenta yung drugs, no? Not going by the old way of doing so, di ba? Nauso ngayon yung, for example, app, delivery application. They're using innocent delivery personnels to facilitate, no, or to help them in committing the crime that they're doing, no, di ba? Magpapabook sila na may ipapapick up na item, no. Yung item will be delivered to a certain person, they will pay the fee, no, they will give certain tips, something like that, no. So how is that possible na nagkaroon na sila ng mga ganitong methodologies? It's because of globalization, no? Nagkakaroon tayo ng mga bagong technology, nagkakaroon tayo ng mga idea na nakukuha natin perhaps online, perhaps it was a method being committed by other criminal organization in other countries that we learned about, and we are trying to implement them, no? And this is all possible because of globalization, no? Dahil madali na tayong matuto, madali na tayong uh, makapag-aral ng mga iba pang mga techniques on how can we improve our methodologies in committing the crime, no? So yan yung mga nagiging effect niya, no? Dahil nag-improve, no, yung technology natin, nagkakaroon rin tayo ng mga iba't ibang paraan kung paano natin may sasakatuparan yung ating masamang mithiin, no? So technologies are part of that, since technologies, well, that's actually the direct result of globalization, no? Dahil mabilis ng transfer ng information, mabilis na rin ang transfer ng mga technologies, no? So yung technology na naimbento nila in other countries, madali nating na-adapt, no? At madali rin nilang ginagamit ito sa kung anumang illegal activity na kanilang ginagawa. So those are some of the impact of globalization to law enforcement. Now, as I've stated, it's not all negative. Hindi naman po lahat negative. Kasi if criminals or criminal organization are taking advantage of the globalization, of the impact of globalization, it is also obvious that law enforcement organizations are also taking advantage of this. Na? Kung ini-improve ng mga criminal organization yung kanilang mga strategies on how they're committing the crime, of course, na? May improve din ni law enforcement organization yung kanyang mga methodologies and strategies together with the technologies that they have on how they could be able to combat criminal organization, no? That are taking advantage of the impact of globalization. So it's just balance, no? Ang nagiging issue na lang dito is sino ang mas maaga, no, na nag-a-adapt doon sa mga technologies, sino ang mas maaga na natututo ng mga strategies and so on, sila ang nananalo, no? Kung magpapaiwan ng ating mga law enforcement organization with regards to the technological improvement, no, and methodology, learning about new strategies and so on, sila ang maiiwan, no? Kung mas agresibo ang ating mga criminal organization on how they try to improve their methodologies, then therefore sila ang mananalo. So it's about who first adopts and who are actually serious in adopting and changing, no? Their yung kanilang mga nakasanayan in order to combat the rising problem on criminality brought by globalization. Now, what I wanted to talk about also is that I would want to cite some challenges. Now, pag sinabi natin challenges, we're referring to the problems that are brought about by globalization to law enforcement. Ano ba yung mga pwedeng kaharapin ng ating mga law enforcement organization in the near future, or actually ano ba yung yung kanilang kinakaharap na ngayon, na we cannot actually say that in the near future kasi talagang eto na yung problema ngayon, nakikita na natin. So what are those, no? Una, increasing crime opportunities, no? Mabilis na pag-commit ng crime, no? Mabilis na tayong mag-transfer, no? Mabilis na tayo, I mean, yung mobility natin, mabilis na tayong mag-transport from one place to another. So that gives a lot of opportunity for criminals also to commit crimes in multiple areas, no? So that's one. Increasing crime opportunities, tumataas po yung mga opportunity natin ngayon na kung saan is pwedeng pagsamantalahan ng ating mga criminal-minded individual, no? That is brought about by globalization, no? Imagine right now, no? Pwede ka nang pumunta sa ibang bansa, doon ka magtinda ng drugs, no? Or pumunta sa ibang bansa, no? And then later on is you're going to commit a crime, no? And go in other country for para takasan yung ating batas and something like that. So the opportunities right now is actually very there are a lot of opportunities right now for criminals, no? And that is because of globalization. Now everything is easier right now. Communication, transportation, um, even yung accessing bank accounts and something like that. Everything is easy right now. Madali na lahat halos, no? Only if you, of course, adapt to globalization, no? So that is one, increasing opportunities. Dahil madali na lahat ngayon, now there are also people who are taking advantage of this opportunity to help them in committing more crimes and more varying crime that they could think of. That's one. Another challenges that globalization had brought to law enforcement is the so-called expansion of criminal networks. When we talk about criminal networks, we're referring to the connection that these criminal organizations are building up, no? Yung mga connection nila, no? Dati, yung connection nila is only like localized. Like say for example, their area of operation was a certain municipality, yung kanilang connection is only focused on those people residing in the same municipality. But right now, no, even just a simple local gang could have a connection into international gangs. That's one, no? Yung mga maliliit lang na mga grupo could have a connection or meron na silang contact in other bigger gangs, no? Maybe in other area of the country or from other country itself, no? So na-expand ng mga criminal organization yung kanilang networks right now because as I've stated, it's easy to communicate, di ba? Dati when you try to build a relationship, no, with other criminal organization, of course there's the risk na kailangan yung mag-meet up, mag-usap face to face, something like that, in order for you to have or to build the trust and confidence between the criminal organization. Right now, hindi na. Kasi you could take advantage of the different social media platforms, no? You could communicate with them, you could call them, no? You could email them, you could use other encrypted platforms to reach out to this bigger criminal organization easily. Yeah? So they are expanding now their networks by taking advantage of the effect of globalization to transportation and communication. So lumalawak ngayon yung kalaban ng ating mga kapulisan. Kasi kahit sinasabi ko nga, no, kahit maliit lang na gang yan, maliit na organisasyon, pwede yang meron ng network or meron ng connection, no, into other bigger gangs, which means it poses a bigger problem to our local police. No? So that is one. Uh, we have also the so-called exploitation of the technological advancement. Yun yung pinupoint out natin kanina on with regards to the impact. Ano? Criminal organization are taking advantage of the technological advancement. Computer, mapa gadgets, even firearms. They are taking advantage of all these types of technological advancement. Ginagamit talaga nila yan para sa kanilang sariling kapakanan. No? So there's no problem with that, as I've stated, because even the law enforcement organization are taking advantage also. They're trying to exploit also the technological advancement on their benefit. No? Kung ano man yung mga bagong invention ngayon, siguradong pag-aaralan nila yung kung paano yan makakatulong sa kanila para nang sa ganun is mapabilis or magawang efficient pa yung kanilang mga personnel on how they could be able to perform their job, no, with of course efficiency, no? So both the criminal organization and law enforcement are actually trying to exploit itong mga technological advancement, no? Yung balance lang dyan is kapag sino ang mas nag-a-adapt. Kung halimbawa, government will not fund the law enforcement organization, they will not give a fund for their technological advancement or technological improvement. So, matatalo ang ating mga law enforcement organization kasi for sure, criminal organization are taking advantage of those. No? They are considering that as part of their investment. Kaya, gagamitin nilang oportunidad yan. No? Say for example, the employment of IT experts. No? Most intelligent IT experts, yung mga talagang matatalino, usually they're trying to engage themselves, no, or immerse themselves into criminal activities. Why? Because the uh, paycheck, no, yung parang kikitain nila doon, syempre mas malaki, no? Mas malaki. For example, they know how to hack bank accounts, no? Pag ginawa nila yun, malaki ang kikitain nila kahit sila lang mismo, wala pa silang connection to criminal organization, sila lang mismo ang gumagawa, malaki ang kinikita nila. No? Why would these people employ themselves in government if, say for example, government can only afford to pay 1,000 pesos per day? Diba? Parang, oh sige, IT experts ka, 1,000 per day mo. So you will earn like 30,000 a month. Okay? So, for those people who actually know how to hack accounts, no, alam nilang gumawa, paano sila mag-hack, paano sila kumita through different cyber crime, no, would not engage themselves into that. No? Kasi alam nilang mas malaki pa ang kikitain nila pag gumawa sila ng illegal. No? So there is always the logic. No? Meron lagi yung logic na gano'n na bakit ako magtratrabaho, for example, for the government if I could be able to earn that money, triple amount of that money, no, on my own, something like that. So now, of course, this criminal organization would give them much more higher price for them to be able to be recruited to become a part of their organization. No? So these are all the dilemma, no, na kinakaharap ng ating na kinakaharap ng mga criminals that are getting involved into cybercrimes, no, because of money, no. And sadly, sometimes, no, our the government itself, no, are lacking funding, no. They lack the fund, they lack the support that they're giving to law enforcement organization. That's why the law enforcement organization themselves cannot actually improve more kasi nga they have limited funding, no. And while these criminal organizations are fully taking advantage of such advancement because they know that if they would do so, they could be able to escape from the swords of justice from our law enforcement organization. So, yun yung kanilang doon usually natitilt yung balance between exploiting the technological advancement kasi criminal organization are fully taking advantage, no? Are fully taking advantage of the uh, technological advancement, while government agencies are actually hindi masyado, no, they are not actually taking fully advantage because usually it involves money, no, it involves funding. Okay, so that is one of the challenges that our law enforcement are facing in terms of globalization, no. Another thing is that electronic money laundering, no. Now, with regards to electronic money laundering, what does it offers? Kasi it gives how do you call this? It makes the individual using electronic money, and when we talk about electronic money, we're actually referring to like cryptocurrency and so on, which offers anonymity to its user. No? And money laundering, if you're familiar with the concept of money laundering, pag sinabi kasi nating money laundering, it refers to the process of making illegally obtained money or assets, no, looks like obtained through legal means, no? Yung mga product of illegal activities, yung mga halimbawa, ninakaw, kinorap, something like that. Yung mga illegal money ay ginagawan siya ng paraan para magmukhang legal. That is the process of money laundering. And now, with improvement of the so-called money transaction, nagkaroon rin tayo ng creation of the so-called electronic money or e-money or cryptocurrency, na which making it more easier right now to launder money, no? Kasi as I've stated, electronic money offers anonymity for its user. No, ibig sabihin, this type of money gives security to its user that it would be hard for them to be traced, no, kung saan nila ginamit, saan nanggaling ang pera nila, so long as they put it into the system, so long as they put it into the crypto world, something like that, no? And with that, no, criminals are taking advantage of that to hide the traces of their actions, especially with regards to the sources of their money, no? Saan siya pumupunta, kanino siya pinapasa, no? Yung trace ng money, yung footprint ng ating money are actually being erased through the involvement or through the use of the so-called e-money or cryptocurrency. So that is again one of the problem that law enforcement are facing right now. No? Kasi right now, talagang wala pa masyado tayong batas with regards to electronic money. No? Wala pa tayong mga regulations or prohibitions with regards to electronic money. No? So that's one of the problem. Now that's one of the problem. Okay? Another thing is that yung increasing involvement or last thing is the increasing involvements of minors to crime. As I've stated, opportunities are increasing with globalization. Now, say for example, a minor could search on different social media platform on how to do like this, no, how to hack bank account, how to buy drugs, how to buy unlicensed firearm, how to sell, how to commit robbery, how to make a motorcycle start without a key, something like that. So they could search that actually in Google or internet or on, in YouTube, no? And from this, they can learn, no? Pwede silang matuto kung paano gawin itong mga bagay-bagay na ito. And with that, minors are now learning, no? They have now the capability to learn by themselves through social media and through the different platforms that we have offered by globalization, offered by new technologies. And with that, no, they will have more courage on how they will have more courage to engage into illegal activities because they can see people doing it and somebody are teaching them how to do it on their own, no? So that is actually the problem. Right now, makaka-encounter ka na ng mga minor de edad, like for example, high school student, they are now engaged into fishing, no? They're now engaged into hacking, they're now engaged into scamming and so on. How did they learn about those things? Well, maybe somebody told them how to do it, no? But what I suspect is that most of these things are actually they learn through the internet. And that is brought by globalization. No? So makita natin ngayon guys, tumataas na talaga yung involvement ng mga minors in terms of committing crime. No? Kasi mabilis na silang makabili ng mga supposedly na hindi pwede dapat na binibili nila. No? Say for example, uh, they could buy the online products that are not supposedly to be sold to a minor, no? E-cigarette, for example, no? So they could purchase that on their own through online. So they could engage into e-cigarette as early as they are minor, no? Because they could be able to purchase that online, no? What else? Drugs, no? We could not actually no, we could not actually reject the fact that some minors are actually purchasing drugs online. No? Pwede nilang gawin yan. No? Paano nila natututunan yan? Siyempre, social media, online, and so on. There are some minors that probably medyo may kakayahan sila na um, may pera sila, may hawak silang pera or merong mga pera doon sa kanilang bahay na meron silang access, no? Pwede nilang kunin 'yun, gamitin nila pambili ng mga masasabi nating illegal products or contrabands, which actually that is involvement, no, of minors to crime already. The moment that, for example, a minor purchase a drugs, no, that is already a crime. The moment that a minor already started using drugs, that is already a crime. So more and more minors are now engaging into crime because of globalization. No? So these are just some of the challenges that law enforcement are actually facing in terms of globalization. No? So those are, as I've stated, are challenges. Of course, if there are challenges, there should be opportunities, there should be improvement that we are expecting on how do we combat those challenges that our law enforcement are facing. Now, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, globalization is not necessarily a bad thing for law enforcement. It's not. Now, actually, it's good. It's good for everyone. It's up to the law enforcement organization on how they could exploit or take advantage of the impact or the benefits that globalization had brought about, to our work. Okay, so with that, I would like to end up my discussion. I do hope I was able to impart some knowledge, despite this very short lecture. I hope I was able to impart some knowledge with regards to the topic that we just discussed. Thank you and goodbye.